Hey, this is Doug Jones, also known as the Silver Surfer. You are listening to Nuff Said.
Welcome to the Nuff Said podcast. This week we are discussing episode 3 of season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Making Friends and Influencing People. What a pleasant name, huh?
Sounds like Carnegie all over again.
It sure does. I am rabbiting Rob Southgate, and with me is...
Jittery Jack Wendrowski.
And activated a Lil.
Oh, activated. Wow.
Sounds like we've all had...
Jittery and rabbiting. This is going to be
Sounds like
podcast,
we've all had...
boys.
This is the podcast brought to you by Red Bull.
I'm trying to go with the theme of the show. Because they've activated, well, I don't want to get into it right now, but, with the Hydra activating their cells all over, I think that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Rob activated his cells all over.
Yeah, and we got Windex to clean it up.
Ooh.
Thank God.
So, thank God.
Just make sure you go in a circular rotation.
Yes.
You don't want it streaking.
Yes, I learned that from Mr. Miyagi.
Oh, don't go there.
So, so did you guys enjoy this one? Is it living up to what you expect for the season?
I really liked a lot of the thing. I liked what they did with Fitz. I really like the whole Wade thing is kind of chilling out. He's not near as creepy. They still don't know what to do with him, but he's not quite the kind of lech that we're led to believe.
You mean Ward?
Ward.
Yeah, you said Wade.
You said Wade. I'm sitting here
who's
frantically
Wade?
looking on the internet like, who's Wade? If I go on Fitz here for a second, do I not know? Okay, Ward you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm playing the Fitz part here.
Yeah, you are. Okay, so we've talked about this before with Ward. I really think they're leading us towards redemption, and I don't know if I like it. I want him to be the bad guy.
See, I don't think that's the case. I still think he's going to be the bad guy.
Okay.
There's a line here that is said when he's talking to Sky, when he says, "One day I want to take you to your father." Right. And to me, that means something else, because that group that Garrett and them were working, they were working with Sky's father. They knew who was involved here.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I think that still means that he is still on that side. Yes, he's loyal to Garrett, and he keeps saying that, and he's going to give up some Hydra.
Yeah, that he wasn't Hydra, but it could be something else.
Exactly, and that's what I'm thinking this whole thing is leading up to with Ward.
Interesting
don't think
thought.
It's going to be a redemption.
Well, yeah, I agree with Lil because, like I say, he's wanting to get out. I don't think he has any allegiance to Hydra now that Garrett's gone. He said numerous times his allegiance wasn't ever to Hydra. It was always to Garrett, and that's where his loyalty was. He wasn't brainwashed. That's, that's where he was in it. But taking Sky to Hydra gets him out of the dungeon, because when they're done with Ward, they're going to try and bury him in, whatever the new sandbox is going to be, as deep as they want to go, because they won't be able to kill him. But his only hope is to, get Sky to her father. He'll feel like he's got some sort of redemption. However, he gets to go out on his own.
I thought that this episode had a lot of foreshadowing for the future in it. It not like the first two. The first two I think had some storytelling and development. This one, and again, we see Sky being talked about, making her first kill. We assume she made that first kill. It's not happening because Blizzard's going to come back. I think this is leading up to Sky actually taking down Ward eventually at some point this season.
Oh, you think that's what the foreshadowing is?
I do think that's part of the foreshadowing, because Coulson can't look at him. Fitz, couldn't do it.
Oh, that was fantastic. That was a highlight of the season so far. When Fitz went down there and saw Ward, I mean, to me, that was just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe, because when he walked down there, I'm like, well, that wall is up. He's not going to see him. And then as soon as he touched that thing and he saw Ward, it was like, I thought his acting was just amazing. Right down on the seat. He was devastated.
Oh, yeah.
And I just thought this was played so well. So there was no way when he went down there that he was going to kill Ward. Because, I mean, let's face it, in this universe, the good guys cannot just kill. I mean, in fact, we see him using the night-night gun all the time. So if he had actually suffocated Ward, it would have made him a bad guy. And that cannot happen. So I knew he wasn't going to do it, but man, I thought they played it really well.
Yeah, I agree. However, I'm gonna stick to a little different motivation. I'm not gonna say that, obviously that's what differentiates Shield from Hydra, but I think as Fritz as a person, I think he really wanted Ward to feel what it was like
I think so too.
to have been deprived of oxygen, but I don't think he really, maybe at first, maybe he did intend to kill him, but I don't think that Ward would have got the point if he was dead about the lack of oxygen.
Ha, take that. Did you get the point? Oh. Oops.
I agree with that. I actually agree with both of you. But my difference is I still think that SHIELD agents want, they're going to kill. I know they use the night-night gun a lot, but even Coulson said at the end of this episode, if we can't get them, we got to put them down.
Right.
And that's what Skye did with Donnie.
Exactly.
At least she thought she did.
Well, and
Right.
we see blood come out. You see that little spurt of blood, and
I thought that was a ketchup packet.
probably he had a hot dog in his jacket.
See, now I hate him even more. Ketchup on a hot dog? What is wrong with him?
But I think the difference here, with Hydra is, they don't, it's either this or that. There's no middle ground, and I think the reason why Fitz couldn't do that is because SHIELD won't kill in cold blood, and that's what this would have been.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
But I
and
think
for
that
Fitz, he's
Go ahead.
not trained that way anyway. You know what I mean? Like Ward was when Ward was on Shield. Let's forget that he went to Hydra. Okay, he was a trained killer, where he might have used those tactics and taken it to that point. Even though we don't want to see the good guy kill somebody, that is more of a possibility. For Fitz, though, he was a scientist there. He wasn't trained to kill in cold blood.
Right. But I think we're kind of getting almost too much detail in it. I think it was a momentary lapse of Fitz where, he got the information that he needed. He almost killed Ward, but he didn't, and he got the information and was actually able to relay it to the team, which is the most important part of that sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also like the part because I thought this at the end of last season a little bit is what Ward said.
A little bit.
A little bit, exactly.
Yeah.
Nice joke. I'm not a little bit of a guy, so it doesn't work.
You haven't heard that too many times, I'm sure.
But what he said with when he saved them, he gave them a chance.
Right.
And when I watched that ending, I did think that. I really did think because he said he got the plane to be lowered. They didn't have to lower the plane to drop that box off. It looked like that's what he was doing.
I agree with that when he said I was giving you a chance. But at the same time, you were dropping him in a box to the bottom of the ocean. So you may have been giving him a chance, but you were hedging your bets there. So that's why I keep saying, I don't want to see him get redeemed. I don't want that to be the redemption that we see there.
It won't be.
I really hope not. I really hope not. This week they softened it a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, don't let that be." And when he did that, when he deprived him of oxygen and everything, I thought you're trying to build him into being sympathetic again in some way. I don't want it.
No,
I don't think Skye wanted it. I don't think Skye bit. So I think that's a promising thing that we saw.
Well, this is the first time where she let Ward get to that point. And I think they're just not that subtle. I mean, when, like Alil said, he said, look, I think, there's a lot of kind of, little hints to the future here. And they're just not that subtle. This is all leading up to Ward being able to get out and take Skye to her father. And he'll attempt to escape. Either he'll go out into the great beyond, or Skye or somebody else will take him out on the outside. But this is how he gets out. There's no redemption. It's a deal to get her to her father, which is what she wants and may not want in the end.
Now, do you think we're going to have that? Because I think that is so freaking predictable. It'll be a disappointment if we have Sky get him out. Sky breaks him out. Take me to my father, and Shield is chasing Sky and Ward, and the whole thing is leading to get to her father, and then she gets there. I mean, that seems so played out.
No, I don't think it's going to be that way. I think.
Oh God, I hope not.
I think they're going to need her father and to know more about her because she was an 084 to
So you think
figure
they'll set her
out.
up like they were doing with Simmons?
Right. I do think it's going to be something like that. That they're going to let Ward take her to her father, and Ward either will know, and they'll say that we'll take you out if you turn on us, or she's going to pretend that that's what she's doing, but
Yeah.
Coulson and them know it. So they're tricking Ward into doing this.
That's variations on a theme. It's still, in the end, it's still the same action.
Yeah,
True, but it's not the weak action of, oh, I need to know who my father is because of me. No, I need to know who my father is because of the mission, because of what Coulson's going through, what's in me now. Because they've got the Kree blood in there. Coulson's still seeing those. And the lead into the next episode is the painting. On the back of the painting, there's more of those symbols.
Right.
There's gotta be something. There's gonna be a tie-in with those symbols because we saw it in the 084 when Flowers touched it. You saw a similar symbol.
Yeah, you saw it go up that thing. Yeah.
Right. Now they made
that. So I think that's how it's going. That's how it's going to lead. I mean, this season, or at least up until the mid-season, is going to lead into this story. I mean, this has got to be the story for the mid-season finale.
So you guys, you have to listen to something. I want to interject here for a second. Today I recorded another podcast that we're going to put on this same feed. So it's not going to be like another show. Basically, if you are a subscriber to Nuff Said, you're going to get this like midweek. I'm thinking maybe Mondays. I'm not sure. But Charlie Esser, who writes the blog Super Connectivity on our website, who is a Marvel Rain Man, basically. We basically are going to talk each week about like his article and all that. Well, we got into this. We got into this part of it, talking today about Sky's father. And he had a really interesting theory about what all this is. And since we are talking about him right now, I want to hear what you guys think. We keep saying we think he's an Inhuman. Is that what you guys are thinking?
it makes sense to go along those lines.
It does to me too. What about you, Lil?
I agree. It makes sense. I mean, I'm not sold that he's going to be an Inhuman. He might have some kind of cosmic background because again, we're talking about how she was an 084. There was that story of her past with death surrounding her. There's got to be something extraterrestrial about her. Are they bringing in the Inhumans in this?
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said it that way because that was Charlie's point. He actually was saying that he believes that Kyle MacLachlan is going to turn out to be Namor, and that it's the Atlanteans that we're dealing with. And I was like, wow, that's a really interesting. So when you said, that he's not terrestrial, actually, wouldn't he be terrestrial if he was Namor?
Well, I mean,
So kind of an interesting thought. And like my first reaction was, well, they don't, Sony doesn't own Namor. That's on Universal. And we looked it up and not Sony, Disney. But guess what? Disney has the rights to Namor. So this could be what we're seeing because the chances of a Namor movie pretty slim. But to have him be a character on here, man, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, but would it be Kyle MacLachlan? I mean, that's
why not?
I don't know, because when you think of Namor, I don't see him.
Well, I know you're thinking about, some dude with his shirt off, swimming around, all bronze.
Always the shirt has to be off. I don't want to see Kyle MacLachlan's shirt off. I don't need to see him in Speedos with little wings on his feet. I don't know. You know what? You know what? It is a very interesting take, and maybe I don't know off the top of my head who Namor's villain is in Atlantis or Atlantia, or however it's.
Well, maybe it's not Namor. Maybe it just is an Atlantean.
Yeah, that would make sense. That makes sense, but that could be something that could be associated with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thought. It was one that never crossed my mind. So
So,
definitely listen to that podcast if you guys get a chance. And any listeners out there, if you want to get a little deeper on this stuff, definitely check out Super Connectivity. It'll be on this feed. It's just going to pop up on your thing. I was really, really blown away by that whole concept that he had.
and if something else pops up on your thing, make sure you see a doctor.
Right.
Way back in the first season, didn't we see what we thought was Sky's father, kind of a melted, bloody mess?
Well, we saw a hand, and it looked like it was like there was blood all over it. And you and I talked about it at the end of the season. Like, is he melting? Is that blood? Is it chocolate? I think he was just living that, I Love Lucy scene when they were doing the thing with the belt with all the chocolates going by really fast. I think that's what we were seeing, the end result of that. I don't know.
I wish
what
that were the
was.
case, but I think they're going to have to tie that back into something.
Right.
I can't remember if this is true, but I think it was the first time they showed him when Flowers went to him.
Yeah.
Was it in episode 1? I think he was wiping his hands off again. Maybe he was just in the middle of murder. I don't know.
That could be, because
He
there
just
was
had
a lot
blood
of
on his
torture.
hands.
He absolutely was wiping his hands off, which once again, if we're talking Namor or an Atlantean, he's all wet. I mean, seriously, it could be little things like that when you go back and you watch, if it's an Atlantean, you go like, oh, of course, he was in the water. And I like the whole thing with Flowers. I think that they're doing a good job, because last season we liked her when she first popped up. Then it was kind of like, okay, they're not developing this character really. And it seemed a little forced. This year, I'm way into when Flower shows up, because I don't think I think if we're talking Inhumans, let's go back to that idea, and we could even say Kyle MacLachlan's an Atlantean. She is not tied to any group. Her thing is she wants to find out what these 084s are, and she is a 084. And is probably trying to figure out, is this alien? Is this Atlantean? What is this? So I think it's pretty cool that, she's not really with S.H.I.E.L.D. She's not with Hydra. She's not with anybody. And the implication was that she was with, Sky's dad, but she's not. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it makes sense too, because it's a character that we can follow on an inside look at the villains, and it's somebody that
right, without her being a big baddie.
Exactly, and it's also somebody who's trying to figure out what she is.
Yeah,
because she seems to have some kind of power or something with her, so she is aligning herself with these people because she wants to continue that journey to figure out who she is. And she made that comment, I believe, in season 1 to Sky, that they're like sisters.
Right.
It might not be that they are biological sisters or something, but they're sisters.
But they're whatever this race is.
Exactly. They're both special somehow.
Yeah.
And that's why if it's Sky, and we're talking about being in the from Atlantis, wouldn't Sky need water too then?
Well, yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's my only. I mean, I'm not saying that I rebut what he's saying, but it's just
Sky's mom is from land.
Yeah,
and that may not be something that she needs. I don't know. I haven't run into very many Atlanteans in my life, at least that I'm aware of. Except for Jack, he's quite a swimmer.
That is true. No, I'm not the Olympian, mind you.
No.
Well, I want to get a little point out here where they brought out
in front of the kids, Jack. Gross.
They brought out a thing called the Faustus method. Did you pick up on that from Dr. Whitehall?
Yeah, that was cool.
Now, do you know what that refers to?
Well, from the comics, they use the Faustus method for reprogramming the brain.
Is that like the Manchurian Candidate kind of thing?
Well,
yeah.
If you go back to Dr. Faustus, is a book written in the mid 1500s by Christopher Marlowe. And it talks about Faustus was born of ordinary parents in Germany, and he gets his Doctor of Divinity, and he decides that through sin is death. So if you can overcome the basic sin through magic, you can overcome death. Which
interesting.
Yes. So, I mean, this is pre-Shakespeare, and this has been, you know, the fight of good and evil, in Western literature for the last 600 years, and that brings us right to Daniel Whitehall, who's hasn't changed since early World War II. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, I didn't know what you know, but
Well, as soon as I heard
Dr.
Faustus, yeah, as soon as I heard Faustus, I'm like, I remember that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in Marvel, Dr. Faustus is a character. He is a Marvel Comics supervillain, and but it does have its ties to the character you're talking about. I'm actually looking it up right now. So pretty interesting. That was another one that Charlie was all over. He said when he saw the guy with the beard, he was like, "It's Faustus," and he loved that shout out. So we
Yeah.
talked a little bit about it on there, but I think that this is really cool. I'm actually looking it up. If you look up Dr. Faustus in Marvel, you'll see all sorts of information on there. He was in the Ultimate Comics. That's where he first came in, was during the Ultimate series. Now that's another thing. So much of what we're seeing is kind of from the Ultimates universe. So that might be giving us some clues. I don't know if I know the Ultimates storylines as well as I do some of the older ones. Are we getting clues to Sky's dad there? And did Namor appear in Ultimates? Do you know? Do either of you know?
Ah.
I can't recall. I mean, I read Ultimates 1 and Ultimates 2, and then I followed Ultimate Spider-Man a lot and Ultimate X-Men, but not. But maybe you're right. A lot of this is drawn from the Ultimates universe. I mean, because the Shatari were the race of aliens
Right.
in the Ultimates. I want to say yes that Namor was in there. But I can't be 100% certain.
Well, in other, in the wiki, there's other versions. It's not listed, but that doesn't
Okay.
mean that that's definitely not.
Yeah, I was just looking to see if there was
a
a
slam dunk.
clue to this. This idea. I mean, whether it's true or not, it's an interesting one to kind of play with. Is this idea that it's an Atlantean, and I just didn't know because I've read a number of the Ultimates comics, and I don't recall much with the Submariner or with Atlanteans, but it could have been just what I read.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Looks like he was in part of the Ultimate Fantastic Four, I think.
Okay. Interesting. And you know what? If you look at pictures of Namor, the way they have depicted him now, he is not that shirtless guy. So sorry, Alil. I know you were looking for the green shorts and the shirtless Namor, but
Boo!
Boo! It could be Kyle MacLachlan.
Could be Sarah McLaughlin.
Oh,
This will be the one time I don't want a female Marvel character.
Her superpower is getting funding for abandoned dogs.
I have the power of Lilith.
How can you sit there on your couch looking at Marvel shows when you know you need to be donating to?
Right. So apparently you're not getting a gig working with her, are you?
No.
No.
Now I can't.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't say anything about Patty Austin. Let's just say that.
Okay.
I'll be playing with her in about 3 weeks. So can't say any. We could talk about Sarah McLaughlin all day long,
but not Patty Austin. Gotcha.
but not Patty Austin.
So, all right, what are we missing? We've gone way off track a lot here.
Us?
We haven't even
talked about the show yet?
No, we haven't even talked about Simmons infiltrating Hydra.
Oh my gosh, the best part of the show.
We didn't even talk about the Blizzard, really. Gil, right? Gil.
Which I thought was played really well.
We've gone completely off tangent here. But yes, I thought the Simmons, after last week's teaser, I was just like, oh my God, they can't do that. And then I kept thinking about it. I'm like, no, this is what's going to happen. And it happened the way it did. But
okay, so you thought that she was going to be a double agent?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I mean, it almost seemed to make complete sense because it to me.
Oh, they really set you up to not think that, though, didn't they?
Well, yeah, with the Hydra jacket and all that kind of stuff, her having the gun. But then once the show started, it kind of set it up that way. And the thing is, I wasn't sure because then I was like, well, she could have been picked up and brainwashed because that's what they were doing in the beginning. But that's also in my opinion, the foreshadowing for the future. Like
I thought they were
brainwash her.
I thought they were playing with that stuff quite a bit. Playing with you thinking that she is definitely in Hydra, like at the beginning, and then you find out, okay, she's a double agent. You saw them doing the brainwashing. The whole time I'm thinking they're going to brainwash her. When they walked her into that room, I thought, oh my God, they're going to do it right here. Nope. They were having her go after Gil. And I thought, they really set you up a lot here and kept you off kilter, even though when you step back from it, you go, yeah, of course, they're not going to brainwash her yet. She has to have some type of reunion with Fitz before she's completely warped out. She has to. And do you think they'll do that? I think she's going to escape or they're going to rescue her from the situation before that happens.
I don't know. I don't think... oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lil.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, I'll go back to... I just don't think they're that subtle because I really love that entrance sequence where... Simmons, smile and everybody's welcoming her to the, to the lab. And it's like, she walks in and there's the Hydra octopus sitting there. It's like,
oh, it was awesome.
That was. But as soon as, she was doing all this low level research and she felt like, oh, well, who's that? She was digging for too much information. And so you almost got the feeling that, if she's infiltrated, Hydra, her motive would just be to get promoted and move up the chain. And no, what she was looking at was file information. How can I get upstairs? And that just screamed mole.
Yeah. Well, I thought they had her pegged as a mole, but I'm not sure if they do yet.
I don't think they do. And I also think that this is I think the way Coulson got her to do this mission is to go to get more resources to help fix Fitz.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that she was working on, was a lot of, if I can remember the exact term she used, what she was working on with her science was a lot of genetic and biological research. And I'm thinking she had a lot to do with cell regeneration and things like that because that's how she was able to peg Gil.
Well, and also, isn't she looking for information about that the alien stuff, the GB 485 or whatever?
I think
Hydra had been looking for that quite a bit.
Exactly. I think this is the entry for her. Like this is what Coulson was pegging her. You can go in here. You can infiltrate. You can work here. We'll continue to debrief. You need to get up into Hydra. But on top of that, you are still because Coulson has already proven that he is that kind of leader. I mean, he hasn't, even though he can't look at Ward, he still has that, you see that he can't put him down because of what they've been through. Even though there has been this, it just feels that way. And that's why I think that Sky's going to be the one who puts him down. But I think that Coulson feels so guilty about what happened with Fitz, that's why he's taking these risks. And I think what's going to happen is she's going to get up, they're going to brainwash her. And I think it's going to be Fitz that's going to get her out of that. And it's going to be Fitz snapping out or putting things together finally to actually get Simmons out from that brainwash.
Right.
Now,
and
I
then
wonder,
once he does, then Simmons will give him the anecdote.
Yeah, whatever she's been working on. Because I do think they're going to have to fix him. They can't go the entire season with having who's that guy who's with her or with him all the time?
Mac.
Thank you. Mac.
Mac.
Translating for him the entire episode. You know what I mean? You just can't have him going nom, 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 and then Mac just figuring it out.
It's I got this a subatomic particle with Cheez-Its?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say we've kind of done that on this podcast for a year and a half.
And for me tonight, because I'm losing my breath, I watched this episode in a hotel room on a very small TV compared to what I normally watch. So if I missed something, I apologize. But I feel like that today because I'm like, who's this person's name? Why can't I draw a name? What the hell's going on? I feel like Fitz.
You know what? I think it's Enough Said is doing that to you because this is what Jack and I do.
Well, see, here's usually how our show goes. I'll say something like, I don't know, blue. And then Rob says, "Oh, what? I get it. What you meant to say was the Dr. Faustus method was, really an alliteration to medieval history, and it really ties right back into the Marvel character Dr. Faustus from 1960." And I go, "Yeah, that's it."
I actually have a Jack to English, English to Jack translation program here. And that's what I use to do that. But lately, have you noticed? It seems like the tide has turned. I think I have stepped into the Jack role. I can't seem to remember anything. My theories are worse than usual. I don't know, Jack. We may have switched places. It's like Freaky Friday.
Well, maybe it's just a temporary fits thing, and your temporal lobe has just gone on the fritz, and and a Lil has come back into the show to fix that.
Yeah, well, if it is Freaky Friday, which one of us is the Lohan? That's what I want to know.
Oh, no, thank you.
Lil, you're the Lohan. Sorry.
All right, that's fine. I'm gonna go crack myself out right now.
Okay.
Oh, well, you are in a hotel room.
I do.
That's true.
I do need your help here. Where were they getting Agent 33 from? And I should know this, but I don't.
Well, she was sitting next to Agent 32.
I think they just found her. Like, it seems like Coulson had this drop line that it's just a mad dash for assets after like S.H.I.E.L.D. went down. Everyone kind of just like left and like went on their own.
Yeah,
and
I don't think she mattered. I think she was inconsequential. She was just Agent 33.
Okay, yeah. It's nobody we should know, but she stayed loyal to S.H.I.E.L.D. and they're having to brainwash her.
You know, it's almost
she
like
stayed loyal for a long time. I mean, it took the entire episode until the very end when she walked in with the papers to sign that it finally worked.
Right. Okay, so what about, we haven't really talked about Skye and her training, like the controlling her heart rate and of course, finding out about her dad is like the whole episode. She stayed within what 67 and
65,
65, and then at the end it like had gone up to 105 when she had blown.
Okay, but I just want to point out about
a normal day. 105.
Right. That's a little trying to take a step. No,
and
here's my question about that. Did it look to you when she did that at the end? You know how she kept looking at it and she was trying to control her heart rate and her heart rate went up. It looked to me at the end like she started to push it up higher. Did it look like that to you? Because I thought, is she all of a sudden realizing my heart's beating like this and I'm not feeling it? Maybe there's something to this?
That, I did feel a little something funny about that, and I think that's a good way to put it. I think she got up to 100 and she said, I want to see if I can push it up to 105.
Yeah, because she seemed unaffected by it, yet it seemed like she's I mean physically, like she wasn't like she was just normal. And she looked down and it was at that rate. And then all of a sudden it looked like she made kind of a face and then it went up to 105 and I was like, did she just push it up?
Yeah, I think she's learning that kind of control.
That's weird. That's awesome.
They're gonna do something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder if the heartbeat thing is maybe something with her biology. Maybe that it's always
well.
The
Atlanteans do need to control their heart rate. Oh, see, they're gonna sound like idiots when this comes out. People will be like, clearly they're not Atlanteans. Yeah. What are you talking about?
She's a normal person.
She's a normal person. 084. That was just the number on her birth certificate. This whole thing has been a ruse.
So. Right after, speaking of ruse, right after Coulson left the dead drop with Simmons, they brought in Donnie Gill and that he really
okay, Fitz, take your time.
He got when he was in the sandbox. It's like they kind of built him up. They said he wasn't just at the sandbox. He built the sandbox. Like
yeah, right.
So it wasn't all, and they can't even answer now, was that S.H.I.E.L.D. or was that Hydra?
Well, whatever. It was Hydra. I mean, that's why he was brainwashed. I mean, it was all Hydra there. I mean, that makes complete sense that Coulson would not have any of that information, but yet, the Hydra, who we're following, I'm pulling a Fitz, I can't remember their names. But they're the ones who know how to control Gil. They know his powers. They know everything. They knew where to find him.
Yeah, they knew everything.
I'm sorry. I believe that he learned how to control his powers while S.H.I.E.L.D. was still in power. I think they made reference to that once or twice. And then they, if you don't want to, and obviously he didn't want to work for anybody, much less S.H.I.E.L.D., so that, they needed to do the brainwashing on him to get him to comply, or at least kind of put that in his psyche for when they did want to recruit him.
But was S.H.I.E.L.D. ever in power at that point?
I think they were. I mean, he was in the sandbox all that time.
Yeah, but how do we know it wasn't all Hydra agents pretending to be S.H.I.E.L.D. agents at that time?
Well,
that's what I'm saying. This was when we had the unified S.H.I.E.L.D. and he was in the sandbox after they took him after that episode in season 1. But all the scientists and everybody he was working with when he was learning to control and what they were doing in the sandbox with him, I believe were all Hydra agents pretending to be S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes, it was still S.H.I.E.L.D. at that time because they didn't call out the code. But I think that's why this is all being done, because all these people that were supposed to be put away or even put down weren't, because Hydra was building them up because they wanted these asset weapons.
Right, but that's an important part of the semantics is it was still S.H.I.E.L.D. under control, and it was a S.H.I.E.L.D. product. But what you're saying was, this was driven by Hydra within S.H.I.E.L.D. because I don't think that they really had that kind of time to develop. Once they took the sandbox, they really just kind of let everybody go. So, whether or not it was kind of Hydra within S.H.I.E.L.D., it was still during S.H.I.E.L.D. is what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying is, yet that could have been driven by Hydra within, but still within. So I thought that was very interesting.
I think I just had a stroke through that whole thing. Holy cow! So
you just lost your cerebral cortex.
I did, man.
Are you seeing Simmons as we speak?
Holy cow! It's quite a rabbit hole we're falling down.
It's kind of like your belly button.
Oh well, Jack, come on. Come on. We don't have to talk about our past when we were, swimmers together and saw each other's navels and
Catwoman. That's my safe word. That's my safe word.
I'm gonna drop out of this conversation if we're talking.
A little second. You're not dropping out. You're thinking, hey, who's gonna cosplay Namor now?
Well, okay. But that's
yeah.
So much for the family rating.
Holy cow. You know what? I'm telling you, I think that this week we need to have a pact that none of us sit that close to the microwave for the next episode, because my gosh, something's wrong with us. Holy cow. So, okay, let's talk about Gil. I was actually really happy to see him back, and I thought that they did a good job with this character. I think that the villains, the super villains, we're going to call him one, that we've seen from Absorbing Man to Blizzard, I think they've done a really good job this season with these guys without making them in these, ridiculous costumes and all this wild stuff going on. I am waiting for Deathlock to show up.
Oh yeah, he's almost kind of been forgotten.
Not by me.
He'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be back for sure. I'm saying that I think that they did a good job with them. I thought it was well played. I think we need a little bit more of something happening with the villains now. There was something going on with Absorbing Man, but he was just kind of a hired goon. I think we need a big bad to show up. And maybe that's what turns Blizzard into Blizzard. Or it's maybe what we saw, it turns Blizzard into Blizzard. Or it turns him into Jack from the Titanic.
Oh, no, it's what we saw. He got shot down. He's done. He's done talking to any of these people.
Oh, I disagree. I think he's going to come... Well, if you look at the history of Blizzard, he started out as a bad guy. I think he even got shunned within some of the groups. He was I don't want to say a weak character within the Marvel universe, but that character didn't do well. If what I remember from when his first appearance was, but I think he could, with the brainwashing, become a major bad. They've activated him. They haven't found the body. I think he winds up working for Hydra for a bit, and then he's like,
So you think he'll be a hired gun for Hydra, or do you think he's going to go off on his own? That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that that's where it's going to get a little more interesting. Not every bad guy is going to work for Hydra.
Well, I think he's going to be a bad guy for Hydra until the brainwashing wears off, and then he'll go out on his own, and maybe he'll be bad, maybe he'll be good, but they'll play that out first. That's my prediction.
That actually might be a central problem here if they don't get away from this, because so far the bad guys are working for Hydra, and basically that means Hydra's getting 084s that are doing their thing, but we're not getting to see the good guys that S.H.I.E.L.D. has because they're all Avengers, and we're not going to see the Avengers here. Although there's a big rumor.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. said it today that he would love to be on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And how many people would love for that to happen?
And that could be the
Everyone.
that could be the signal of the big flip to where, okay, you know what? We can get some of the good guys and the advantage starts to turn.
Well, this is something, once again, that we talked about today was, and this was before the news broke about Robert Downey Jr. We were talking about how I equated this to like Saturday Night Live. You got these big stars, they got a movie coming out, they go on Saturday Night Live. Some of them look like fools on there because they're not good at that type of thing. Some of them do great on it. But the bottom line is they're not doing that because of the paycheck or the contract. They're doing it because this is part of the promotion process, part of promoting yourself, promoting the film, trying to, get yourself out there. Why would the people that are part of the MCU not do the same thing? Use Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as that promotion process thing.
Well, I think they are. I just don't think that they've used it to our liking. I mean, they've had Nick Fury on here, and Nick Fury.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is, did he have that part of his contract? Like, look, we're going to have you have to do X amount of TV shows in X amount of time. Like, if it's not built, that's the thing people keep saying. It's not in Robert Downey Jr.'s contract to do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's to do the movies. So he's never going to cross over. But what I'm saying is, yeah, I would think as an actor, you would go, you know what? I do the show, it's building my brand, and it's enhancing what I do there, and it's going to build into, when I start negotiating for the next movie, it's going to add even more steam to that, which is absolutely what Robert Downey Jr. is doing right now. With him, leaking stuff about Iron Man 4, and then all of a sudden talking about this, it's like he is really trying, he's going to break their bank on this next one.
Unless they don't pay him. I mean, there's still that talk because there's also rumors for Avengers 3 are not going to have any of the main Avengers on it, and then they're going to come back for 4 to kind of keep that contract going, throw in, this new set of heroes that they've got that they're going to be running through before the third movie comes out.
Well, the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking on some of these guys, like with Downey Jr. I mean, let's face it, he is, at this point, he's the right age, it's all working. 10 years from now?
Well, it won't be 10 years from now. I mean, it would be...
How long for Avengers 4?
Avengers 4 would probably be 6 years from now. And
okay.
Downey Jr., just like Ruffalo, they can be gray-haired guys because they are in suits. They are in
how long do you want to let him...
CG.
But how much do you want that to happen? Because if they become gray-haired men and they start getting older, and it's showing that they're getting older, when you're ready, you're not going to reboot, you're going to recast.
Right, but you're talking more than a handful of years from now. But I mean, it's gonna happen.
Well, wait, what? I got lost on that one, Jack. What's going to happen? The fact that they're going to have to be replaced?
Yeah, I mean that's inevitably.
That's
it's just a matter of when. It's not a. I'm just saying. It's we're not talking a matter of if, but a matter of when.
And also why Marvel wants to pay him right now, because for him, he's your benchmark.
No, it's not why Marvel wants to pay him right now. It's why he wants to get paid right now, because he knows he doesn't have many more years of this left.
Right, but I'm saying Marvel would want to pay him because he's their marquee player. And they want to get as much juice out of him while he's the hot marquee player as they can. 6 years from now, he may not be.
I don't think they're going to break the bank on him. I think they just proved
at that point, Squirrel Girl is #1 for MCU.
But I think they just proved to themselves with Guardians of the Galaxy that they don't need to break the bank on Robert Downey Jr. to make a property that is going to sell, that is going to transcend everyone. It's not just a focus on the geeks. It's not Captain America: First Avenger that, hey, it did great at 170 million domestic. No, it's Guardians of the Galaxy that did 300 million and had virtually nobody. I mean, yeah, Chris Pratt now is a name.
Yeah, but he was the guy from Parks and Rec before that.
Yeah, but nobody knew. I mean,
that's what I mean. He was a known entity for that.
But that's what I'm saying. Marvel looked at this and said, "Hey, do we really have to pay Downey $100 million to show up in our movie? Because Avengers cost him $75 million at the end of the day to pay Downey.
Wow.
He got $75 million for doing that movie, and his contract for the next two, I believe, was really close to that. I think he's getting in around 50 to 60 for each movie.
But the thing is, I think for him, I don't think, obviously some of the motivation is money, but I really think that this is something he really enjoys. I think he's the type of guy, when it's played out, he'll stop doing it, but he's the one that creates the buzz. If Joe Blow said, "Oh, I think I might do one of this movies," nobody's going to care. If Robert Downey Jr. says, "I might be on Universal Studios eating sandwiches," it's going to be news. And
the fact that he dropped a little hint about Iron Man 4, and it's like, my gosh, it's everywhere.
It is, but I think the thing is mutual. I think this is something he really enjoys doing, and Marvel benefits because even though that's $75 million. He puts a couple, little news blips out, and everybody goes crazy.
Yeah.
So, I think it tends to motivation. I think it benefits both, but I think there's a little bit, maybe even a tiny bit of altruism there, is that he believes in the product, and Marvel can bank on it.
Well, you know what? That is, I think you're right with that. And I mean, if we look at him, it's the reason he did Sherlock Holmes. I mean, he has been very vocal. He'd like to do a third one, regardless of the money. That to him, it's like, I love this character. I love what the take we've got on it. I think there's another story here. That's not a money motivated thing at this point. He also, there was something I didn't get to read the article, but it was saying that he's also lobbying to get on Doctor Who, like be on an episode of Doctor Who because he loves it.
I read the article. He, I guess he's working on some movie, and they watched an episode of Doctor Who to deconstruct it to help with the ending of the movie that they're working on. They didn't give out anything or what episode. And then he said that he just...
So at the end of some movie, they're going to say, "Don't blink," and we'll all know where it came from.
I guess. I don't know.
No Doctor Who fans. You know what? The Doctor Who fans just went, "Yeah, Robin." You guys boo.
Yeah, forget those other guys. But no.
Yeah.
But then somebody asked him on, I think it was Reddit, when all this stuff came out today, because he was on some site taking Q&A, and then somebody asked him about being on Doctor Who, and he said that he watched an episode, loved it, thought it was a lot of fun, would love to play the Doctor. And he said that people have talked to him about that before, and who knows?
Oh my gosh, would he be good? Oh, in that role, oh my gosh, that would end up being the American movie version, which they tried before. Everyone liked the Doctor, but the movie wasn't good. But him in that role as a Doctor, oh my gosh. Yeah, and you two guys, you got to watch that show. You got to stop being wimps and start watching it.
Actually, I've
TV.
I've caught up with the new. It didn't take much. I've caught up with the new season, and
so you watch it. So you should have got my "Don't Blink" joke.
With the Angels, I was actually trying to look up some other things online while you guys were kind of going back and forth, but I was kind of looking up some Jack Sparrow. What's his name? Johnny Depp. Because, Johnny Depp is that same kind of guy that, pretty much just kind of does the parts he wants. And I think that's where Downey Jr. is.
Yeah, coming back for Pirates 5.
Yeah. And it's the kind of thing, it's making money because he's doing things he loves to do.
Right. Hey, has there been any more motion on him playing Doctor Strange? Have you heard anything more about that?
Right now it looks like it's going to be Ethan Hawke.
Oh, what?
You didn't
I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, the League of Geeks talked about it.
Oh, yeah, those guys.
Shameless plug. No, but it came out when everything broke down with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah,
It
I knew
started
about
coming
that,
out
and
that they were talking with Ethan Hawke because the director Scott Derrickson worked with Ethan Hawke on during a blank on the movie. Was it Sinister? I think it was.
oh yes, I like that movie. I thought that was really
And
good.
so there, that's where that again. It's probably just a rumor right now. People are, how many times do we jump from different Ant-Mans and all that kind of stuff?
Well, yeah,
But
that's why I was going to say this Depp thing keeps kind of hanging on, but I don't think he's the right choice. And when you
no,
start talking about age and stuff, it's like he's going to reach a point where he's not the right guy for that role.
you know what though? I mean, I know we
Boy,
talk a
Ethan
lot about
Hawke though, that
age,
sounds great.
but I know we talk a lot about age with these actors. The thing is like Hollywood 60 is like real person's 45. These
Right.
Or in your
people
case, real person's 28.
yeah, exactly. These people looking better than me at 90. Sean Connery
Right.
still looks better than me. But that's what I'm saying. I mean, these actors, they can pull it off. Yeah, what the problem is not going to be how they look. It's going to be some of the physicality, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of the CG work that it keeps getting better and better is going to start taking that out of the of being a problem.
Yeah.
We were talking about, and Jack, I agree with you. I think Downey is going to come back for an Iron Man 4. I think he's going to do a lot more of these films. But I do still see that there's going to be a lot of this play back and forth because this is what he does. He did this at the end of Iron Man 2.
Oh, absolutely.
When he threw that line in, it was a line that him and Favreau put in about you can't afford me because he was up for a renegotiation for his contract.
Right.
It's all this other stuff that he does, but eventually I do think that Disney, because Kevin Feige and them, they're very confident in themselves. They're going to just say it's either our way or the highway. And I think Downey at some point is going to be, well, this is me and I don't need it, so I'm going to move on. And that I think it's never going to be. It doesn't seem that Marvel breaks up very well. They're that girlfriend that just is a terrible breakup, and that's what I fear for because I love both property. I think Downey will always be Iron Man, just like most people think Connery is Bond. No matter what happens, no matter how good Daniel Craig is, Connery is still Bond. No matter how good anybody is 20, 30 years from now playing Iron Man, because to me Iron Man is like the Marvel Universe James Bond, and they're just going to continue that story. And
Adam
Feige
West
said
is Adam West is Batman.
Right.
You know what though? People still see it. So
They do.
or people even fight for Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton is still their Batman, and that's what it is. It's going to be. He's going to always have that. But I do think
He'll
it's
always be my Beetlejuice.
yeah. I'll talk about that on another show. There was a funny Beetlejuice Batman mashup that James Franco did. I was laughing about. But I think these guys, they can do movies. We're talking about Johnny Depp. I think Depp can pull off for another 10, 12 years being like a Doctor Strange because really, what kind of fighting does Doctor Strange do physicality? It's really a lot of CG work, a lot of magic. It's
True.
not like
I was thinking more in terms of how long how long he wants to be in this game because when you get into a Marvel role like that, I mean, look at Chris Evans. He just keeps complaining about how many movies he's got to do.
Poor guy.
I wonder a guy like Johnny Depp. He's got a couple of these properties where he does multiple movies. Is he going to want to take another one?
There's a difference between comparing because Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth say the same thing. I think they're in lockstep, and the reason why is and same with Hugh Jackman. And Hugh Jackman talks about this as well. He loves Wolverine. What he does not love is what he has to do for 6 straight months to get to the Wolverine body.
Yeah.
And Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth have that same problem. They say that the workout that they have to do, even Chris Pratt said the same thing, that the workout that he had to do to become Star-Lord was so grueling. And it was they even talked about it. I think it was a panel at Comic-Con last year that it was his birthday, and all he could have was they actually brought out a bunch of carrots in the shape of a cake because that's all. And it's like, and I understand. Oh, we're all like, "Woe is me! Pay me millions of dollars. I'll work out every day." But you look at these actors, and they don't have to, do that.
No,
they have other roles for them. They're actors, but what they have to put their bodies through sometimes it's hard. I mean, Bale has complained about it with Batman. He had to lose a ton of weight to do The Machinist, and then balloon back up and couldn't get his body right, and it's just doing that. And those actors, because they have to be the physical specimens on screen have that issue. A Depp as Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange doesn't need a six pack. Iron Man doesn't need a six pack. Bruce Banner doesn't need a six. So these guys can last forever in their roles and age.
That's a really solid point.
Age gracefully because everything that they have to do fighting wise is either CG or their powers really don't do anything.
Happy Hogan didn't have to have a six pack. He could keep going.
There you go.
The thing is, did Chris Pratt really need, a six pack? He could have been like 40 pounds overweight.
Marvel told him that he had to lose. I think they said it was 60
because they've got to make him look like a superhero. I guess that's just why.
It just never really showed. I really didn't until you told me that he had gone through this transformation. I really wouldn't have thought much about it because in the long overcoat and most of those scenes, there was very little to go, oh, look how ripped he is.
Yeah, but if he was some doughy guy, the guy from Parks and Rec, you know what? You wouldn't have bought the physicality that he did do, even in the overcoat and everything.
Exactly. You wouldn't have believed that he was Space Indiana Jones or Space Han Solo.
Right.
Because that's the kind of character he was in this.
You thought he was Space Lil, and that's not getting you anywhere.
Yeah, and nobody's watching that. Nobody wants to see me in a
I actually do.
Dancing, kicking aliens around, and
make that happen, Lil, please.
I'll make my own parody of the opening to Guardians.
Oh, please.
Well, like the first quarter of the movie, you're almost not even convinced he is a superhero. Where he's always like, he whips out the Star-Lord thing, and everybody goes, "Who?"
Yeah, right.
He can't keep a hold of, like his precious recording. He loses that and gets just all the things that we really don't define him.
We physically had to think of him as being able to do these things.
Right.
That's why they had him look
it's not even as a superhero. In the beginning, he was an outlaw. He was Star-Lord and outlaw, not a hero. But being an outlaw, you can't be fat and overweight. How are you going to get away from anybody?
Right.
No. Those jetpacks on his shoes wouldn't carry my big butt around.
Right.
And
every few feet you got to stop and you're winded. Oh, hold on.
I'm winded now.
That's funny. And those workouts that they do, they're specially tailored not to bodybuild. They're specially tailored not to put much emphasis on the chest so that they don't get the bulk. And it's a very interesting routine. I was actually studying some of the routines, and it's a very different approach to physical fitness. It's really tailored, not like what was the old Hulk? Mr. Universe.
Lou Ferrigno.
The bodybuilder. It's getting late, but yet so that was the old standard. Is you built up everything, and you became huge. They tailor these guys to have a very minimal chest, the six pack, much bigger arms. So it's even more difficult because they have to build them up a certain way for the screen, not as a muscular human.
Right.
And that's even tougher.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Because it's going outside of what would naturally be there.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And if you ever want to look up anything, look up the campaign for Thor, the first Thor movie, when they had Chris Hemsworth go around and he literally visited gyms to promote the movie because they were talking about his workout. And he said in most of his interviews that he did to promote Thor were talking about how he had to build up his body, and it was ridiculous. It was insane what he had to do.
I've seen his physique. Yeah, I've seen his workout, the Captain America workout. All these different, and it's really different than that traditional bodybuilders workout. It's very different.
Yeah, I do more the one that Stellan Skarsgård did. Where you just run around in your underwear for a little bit.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, we caught that the first time.
Yeah,
that's about it.
My workout is more toward Fat Albert and the Cosby Kid.
I like that workout.
I just bounce around, hitting things with my gut.
So how long before the guy that played him in Fat Albert, the guy that was on Saturday Night Live, how long before he's a Marvel guy, they get him to do a workout and we have the amazing transformation from him?
Seems
Oh,
like
that's gonna happen.
seems like everyone. Yeah, I mean, and it seems like this universe keeps building, and everyone's going to eventually be a Marvel hero. Everyone wants to be. I mean, geez, Al Pacino is petitioning to be in Guardians 2.
Oh, get
How
out.
great would that be? And make him an alien.
Well,
You know?
there was initial rumors. I think they were talking about it when he was petitioning because I guess he put out there that how much he loved Guardians of the Galaxy and how it was such a refreshing film, and he wants to be a part of this. Then all of a sudden, rumors started coming out. Maybe they would make him Star-Lord's father, and I'm like, could you imagine that? Like Chris Pratt is so huge compared to Pacino. He like walks up to him, and Pacino's like 5'2", and he's like. It would just be so
Hoo-ah!
awkwardly funny. Exactly, like hoo-ah.
Hoo-ah!
Guardians,
I'm
Guardians,
your daddy.
Guardians 2, Scent of an Alien.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, well, I think we beat this
I think so.
into a dead horse.
Did
Weren't we talking about a TV show at some point?
Yeah.
Did we hit everything in the show? Could we end this thing?
I think so. There's nothing in the teaser that I want to talk about this week. So
All right, except the dance routine. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about this episode. This upcoming where they're doing the dance. I was like, did we just enter Love Boat territory here?
Dance off.
no,
It's got me a little nervous.
It reminded me of every spy movie from like the 90s. You know, like True Lies and
Oh yeah, totally. It was True
you know,
Lies.
it
They were
was
channeling
all
it.
that. Yeah, and that's
But
what
for
it was.
TV, I was like, all of a sudden, I was like, as cool as it's been, I started feeling like, ooh, the writers from the A-Team might have been here. Yikes! So we'll see what happens.
But you know what? They need this show is always going to have those kind of episodes. They're going to have those episodes that are more in line with TV than are more in line with the Marvel universe.
Sure. Well, and you know what? Maybe they need to take a little pressure off and have the team, get a little more cohesion for this week. Because that's something I have been reading is people complaining like, hey, we fell in love with these characters last year. You spent all this time building these characters and making us love them, and now we hardly are seeing them.
Right.
That is true.
So maybe that's what this episode is about is, okay, this is the team. We're going to see them interacting. Maybe there'll be a little less emphasis on brain damage and like
Well,
all the
actually,
other things that are going on. So
Fitz actually finally told Simmons that she wasn't really there. And
that was cool.
Yeah, so
We didn't
maybe
even talk about that. Yeah.
that's the beginning. That's the beginning of the end. I think it was just a hint, but
Yeah, I thought that was really cool when he did that.
it's like, okay, and even Coulson said, you know what? We've been looking. There are things that we're not telling you, but you're getting better. And I think that's their kind of not so subtle way of saying, we're gonna have Fitz on the mend here fairly soon.
Yeah, good. Because as many feels as it's brought up and as interesting as it's been, I can't have him stumbling through every sentence for very long.
No.
And you know what? I'm loving Trip. Oh, you know what? There we go. That's what we can actually talk about to finish this thing out. The best line in the whole episode was uttered by Trip, who wasn't in very much, but man, he's going to be the new Ward for this team. As much as Mac kind of appears to be, I think it's Trip. Did you guys catch the best line in the episode?
Was it about shooting? What's his face?
Shooting Hunter.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wanted to do that. That was right there. Was kind of what's missing this season. That's the humor that's in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we'll get back to it. I think it's just.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying it's a flaw. I'm just saying I think that's where it's strongest is when they have dialogue like that works so well. That's funny. I mean, that was genuinely funny when he said that.
And you can't be part of the team unless May or somebody else on the team has shot you numerous times.
Right.
As we've seen in season 1.
Hunter's gotten it from a couple of people at least.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, May's tried to shoot about everybody on her own team.
Right. And now even Fitz is going for people.
Right.
I'm going to do it by suffocation. All right. Let's end this thing. Thank you for listening, everybody. This has been
I'm
Enough
happy to
Said
comply.
Podcast. Yeah. And we'll pick this back up next week. In the interim, between this episode and next episode, please listen to this feed and listen to Super Connectivity with Charlie and with me. I'm going to be on that one. And believe me, it's not me that you're listening for on that show. And we may have another short segment. Phil has offered to start going through and talking about the releases in the comic books for the week. So if you're a comic book person, you kind of want to hear, hey, what came out this week and what are kind of the storylines? He's just going to do a little short segment. I don't know if that's going to start up this week or not, but this feed is just going to have a few different shows. So, each day, hopefully, we'll have a little something you can listen to. And then every Wednesday night, Thursday morning, you should get a new Nuff Said. That's it. Thank you again. You can find all the past episodes on our website, which is www.southgatemediagroup.com. You also find all our social media links there as well. We tweet from the show at Nuff Said Pod. And Alil, you have one that you tweet from, not Nuff Said Pod. What is it you're tweeting from?
From the League of Geeks Twitter, which is at LOGEEKZ. And you can also listen to the other show that I'm a part of, the League of Geeks, which we release a show usually every Tuesday, sometimes earlier, depending on my vast travel schedule for my real job. And that's at the League of Geeks podcast on iTunes and Stitcher and every other forum. And then also we have a website, theleagueofgeeks.com. And again, that's geeks with a Z.
Yeah, because you don't know how to spell. And Jack, where do you tweet from?
Usually the bedroom.
TMI? Keep the selfies to yourself, okay?
I was to say, and what are you wearing? No.
Would you like to know? Go to my tweet at
we
Jay
heard about your
Wendrowski.
Nemor thing. I'm sorry, Jack, I talked over it. What was it?
At Jay Wendrowski.
Cool. And Jack, you also are on another podcast.
I think I am.
And what is it?
It is The Blacklist with Melissa Maxey, and actually, we've really gotten a lot of play. We've been followed by James Spader and a lot of activity on the Twitter account and Instagram. I think we have close to 400 followers. So become one. Yeah, become one with the Blacklist Army, and you will be assimilated.
Very cool.
Ultron follows you. Look at that. Another connection. Ultron follows the Blacklist.
I know. Actually, I even talked
cool.
I even talked about that on the show. So if you're interested in Ultron, listen to the Blacklist.
Very good. All right, that's it. Let's end this thing. I am Rabbiting Rob Southgate.
I am Jittery Jack Wendrowski.
And I forgot my tagline name.
I think you're the abominable Alil.
You were it was activated Alil.
Thank you.
So you're becoming the Fitz.
Yeah.
I have passed the torch.
You know what? We're not going to let him say it. That's it. Thanks for listening, everybody. Nuff said.
Enough said.
Enough said.
If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fun going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.